Picture this scenario, just for a second. It's 11 o'clock at night. A bereaved family is sitting in a quiet living room, and they are functioning under just immense, blinding emotional stress.
Yeah, the absolute worst day of their lives, really.
Exactly. So someone pulls out their mobile phone, opens a browser, and they type funeral directors near me into Google. And your firm appears right at the top of the search results.
Which is exactly what you want.
Right. So they feel this momentary wave of relief, and they tap the phone icon on your profile, but the number that actually dials out is it's off by a single digit. So the call fails, just a dead tone.
And in that specific state of mind, at that hour, nobody is going to spend 10 minutes playing internet detective to track down your real number.
No, of course not.
The friction is just simply too high. So they hit the back button, scroll down maybe 1 inch, and they call the next result on the list.
And you lose a family that you could have helped. But the real kicker here, like the thing that honestly keeps business owners up at night, is that you never even knew they searched for you in the first place.
Right, it's completely invisible.
Yeah, that completely invisible loss of revenue and trust, really, is what we are focusing on today. So welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are looking at a concept called NAP key consistency. That stands for name, address, and phone number.
Such a crucial topic.
It really is. And the golden rule we are exploring here is that these three specific pieces of data, they must appear identically across every single online platform in existence.
And when we say identical, we mean character for character exactness. I mean, close enough is actually actively harmful.
Wait, harmful, like it hurts you.
Oh, absolutely. A missing space in a phone number format, or, a slightly abbreviated street name, or maybe a trading name on some directory that conflicts with your main Google business profile. All of those tiny discrepancies act as digital friction. They actively suppress your visibility in local searches.
That is wild. So to guide us through the mechanics of this, we are pulling from a really comprehensive strategy guide and some fascinating keyword research provided by Independent Funeral Marketing, or IFM.
Yeah, they're an agency that specializes entirely in local SEO for independent funeral homes and directors.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why this NAP data acts as the hidden engine of local search. We're going to look at how invisible data errors are just quietly draining leads from your business. And most importantly, how you can audit and fix your entire digital footprint in just a few hours.
It's totally fixable, which is the good news.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think the average business owner assumes that, well, as long as their own website and their Google profile have the right phone number, they're totally fine, right?
That is what everybody thinks, yeah.
So why does Google care so intensely about exactly matching data on obscure websites you don't even control?
Well, to understand the why, you really have to look under the hood of Google's local search algorithm. Google relies on 3 primary pillars to rank local businesses. You've got proximity, relevance, and prominence.
Okay, so proximity is just straightforward geography, right? Like, how close is your physical funeral home to the mobile phone of the person searching?
Exactly. And relevance is semantic. So how well does your profile match the specific words they actually typed in? But prominence, that is the holy grail. Prominence is how well-established, credible, and trusted your business appears to be across the broader internet. And NEIP consistency is the raw fuel for that prominence signal.
So it's basically how Google confirms you're a real operational entity.
Precisely. It's the verification.
So if I'm understanding prominence, is it kind of like a background check? Or actually, wait, maybe it's more like trying to get into an incredibly exclusive club?
Oh, like where this is going.
Right. So if I show up and I have like a dozen people in my group and all 12 of them give the bouncer the exact same story about who I am and where I live, the bouncer just waves me in.
Yeah, you're verified.
But if half my group gets my name wrong or, gives a totally different street address, the bouncer gets suspicious, assumes I'm a risk, and just leaves me out on the street.
That analogy hits at the core of the algorithm perfectly. I mean, Google literally operates as the bouncer for the internet. It doesn't have eyes, right?
Right.
It can't drive past your building to see if your physical sign is actually turned on. So it relies entirely on consensus.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. When multiple authoritative sources independently confirm your exact name, address, and phone number, the algorithm treats that consensus as hard evidence of your reality.
But when they conflict?
When those sources conflict, the algorithm's confidence just plummets. And the immediate penalty for that loss of confidence is getting booted right out of the local pack.
Ah, the local pack. That's that highly coveted box of 3 map results you see at the very top of a local Google search page.
Exactly. And getting booted from that local pack is, well, it's no small thing.
No, definitely not. Because the IFM research points out that the local pack captures roughly 44% of all local search clicks.
Barely half the traffic,
Yeah.
just gone.
Yeah, nearly half. And corporate chains are acutely aware of this. They pay for massive managed citation programs to ensure they lock down those top spots.
Right, meaning independent directors are essentially losing ground to corporate competitors simply because their data has drifted over time.
Exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to remember the psychology of the searcher we talked about at the very beginning.
The 11 p.m. scenario.
Right. We are dealing with at-need families. They are in a state of crisis. They are making immediate decisions, not, casually browsing for a pair of shoes.
Yeah, the stakes are so much higher.
Exactly. So if your NIP data is conflicting and Google drops you from that top 30 local pack out of caution, you become virtually invisible to a family that needs your services right now. They won't try a second time.
I want to pause and actually quantify what that invisibility costs, because the arithmetic in these sources is, frankly, sobering.
It really is.
Yeah, the research highlights a firm called RSJ Funeral Directors. Let's just look at their numbers. They generate over 230 leads a month, and the average job value is roughly £3,000.
Okay.
Let's be incredibly conservative and say just 5% of their online inquiries are lost. Maybe they had a wrong phone number on a random directory, or bad data knocked them out of the local pack for a few key terms. 5% of 230 is about 11 missed calls.
Which translates to 11 families who ultimately went to a competitor because of basically digital friction.
Yes. 11 calls multiplied by a £3,000 average value is £33,000 in lost potential revenue.
Wow.
Every single month. We're talking about over £390,000 a year evaporating.
Just because of a mismatched address format or a wonky phone number?
Yeah. And the sources even highlight a broader case study from a company called Athens Marketing, where a local service business accidentally switched off its Google business profile and suffered a 40% year-over-year revenue drop.
40%. That is a devastating hit.
It is. The financial stakes attached to your digital footprint are staggering. I mean, this has to be incredibly frustrating for a local business owner who is just trying to serve their community.
Oh, it's deeply frustrating. Which usually leads business owners to ask, well, how does this bad data even get out there in the first place?
Right, like who's doing this?
Most people assume it's just a typo they made 5 years ago. But it's rarely manual error. There are invisible, automated systems constantly moving data around the internet.
The silent saboteurs.
Exactly. The biggest culprits are entities known as data aggregators.
Okay, so who actually are these aggregators, and what is their motivation for moving all this data around?
So the major players in this space are massive data brokers. Companies like Info Group, which is also known as Data Axle, and Newstar Localese.
Okay.
Their entire business model revolves around collecting business information from public records, phone companies, registrations, things like that.
Right.
And then they automatically syndicate that data out to hundreds of smaller directories, mobile apps, mapping services, and GPS devices.
Wait, hold on. If my data is wrong on some obscure directory I've never even heard of, can't I just log into my Google business profile, update my phone number there, and be done with it? Doesn't Google essentially act as the master record that overrides everything else?
That is the single most common misconception in local SEO.
Really?
Yes. And it is the exact reason independent businesses keep bleeding revenue. Updating your Google profile does absolutely nothing to fix the data aggregators.
Oh, wow.
Think about the business model of a small niche directory. They do not have the budget to manually call and verify 50 million businesses.
Obviously not, yeah.
So they buy cheap database subscriptions from aggregators like Info Group. If Info Group has your old address from 3 years ago in their master file, they will continue to silently pump that stale, incorrect address out to all these secondary directories.
That is wild. It's like trying to bail water out of a sinking boat while someone else is hiding in the hull actively pumping water back in.
Exactly. You could fix your Google profile on a Monday, and by Wednesday, the aggregator is still infecting platforms you didn't even know existed.
Okay, so aggregators are distributing bad data on an industrial scale. But the sources also heavily emphasize duplicate listings. How do those happen?
Well, there are a few ways.
Like, let's say a former office manager created a Google business profile 5 years ago, lost the password, and then a new manager just created a second one. Does that happen?
Well, that happens all the time. Alternatively, automated bots will scrape the web, find a slight variation in your business name, and automatically generate a duplicate profile for you.
Without you even asking.
Exactly. And to a human being looking at the screen, it is completely obvious that Smith & Sons Funerals and Smith & Sons Funeral Directors are the same physical business.
Right, obviously.
But to Google's crawler, those duplicate listings split your domain authority in half. They create a conflict in your NAP data.
Because it sees two different names.
Yes, the crawler gets confused about which profile represents the real entity, and its response to confusion is always to reduce trust in both profiles.
Okay, let's talk more about how these bots and crawlers actually read data, because human logic clearly does not apply here.
Not at all.
Take something as simple as a phone number. To my eyes, a phone number written as 01234 space 56789 is exactly the same as the numbers all mashed together without a space.
Sure, human eyes bridge those gaps instantly, but a crawler is just reading database fields. It's running validation rules.
Right.
If the string of characters in directory A has a space, and the string in directory B does not, the bot logs a discrepancy. It sees two distinct data points.
So even a space can cause a trust issue.
Yes, that is why rigid formatting matters so much. You also have to carefully consider the actual type of phone number you are broadcasting.
Oh, like 0800 numbers. Because the IFM research stresses that utilizing an 0800 or 0844 national number is a massive red flag to Google's local algorithm.
A huge red flag, yeah.
I assume that's because Google is actively looking for businesses rooted in a community. If you use a toll-free 0800 number, you're sending a structural signal that you are a national call center.
Exactly. You want to use a local 01 or 02 prefix to definitively prove to Google that your front door is physically located in that specific town.
Which brings up multi-branch firms, right?
Yes, that local geographic signal is everything. And this introduces a very strict rule for multi-branch funeral homes. A lot of regional chains fail here.
How so?
If you operate 3 different locations across a county, you cannot just slap your central head office phone number on all 3 online listings for convenience.
Oh, because it ruins the local signal.
Precisely. Each branch must maintain its own unique local phone number, its own unique physical address, and its own master NAP record. Sharing a central phone number completely destroys the local geographic relevance for those individual branches.
Okay, so we have thoroughly diagnosed the disease. We know that data aggregators, duplicate listings, and bad formatting rules are quietly bleeding revenue.
The silent killers.
Yeah. Now we need the cure. How does a business owner actually solve this without, pulling their hair out?
Well, the IFM sources outline a really structured audit process.
And surprisingly, they suggest it only takes about half a workday to execute for a single branch, which isn't bad at all.
No, it's highly systematic, which takes the emotion out of it. The very first step is entirely internal. You have to define your master NAP record.
Just writing it down. Yeah.
Yep. You sit down with your team and decide on one singular exact format for your name, your address, and your phone number.
And it has to be the real name, right?
Crucially, yes. You must use your actual trading name, the exact name printed on the physical sign above your door.
Not the legal mumbo-jumbo.
Exactly. Do not use the convoluted legal name registered at company's house unless they happen to be identical. You write this master format down in a document. This becomes your absolute source of truth.
Okay, so I have my master record locked in. Do I immediately go out and buy one of those expensive software tools to clean up the internet?
Not yet. You start with your own eyes. You perform a manual search. Take that master NAP, open up an incognito browser window, go to Google, Bing, and Apple Maps, and simply search your business name plus your town.
Just a basic search.
Yeah. Look at every single listing that appears on the first few pages. Does the data match your master record character for character? You log every single discrepancy in the spreadsheet.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. You mentioned Bing.
Oh, yeah.
I think a large portion of business owners ignore Bing entirely, assuming everybody just uses Google. But the IFM data shows that UK funeral directors have an audience that uses Bing at a rate 8.3% above the national average.
It's a really significant bump.
Why is this specific industry over-indexing on Bing so much?
It actually comes down to a fascinating demographic quirk. The audience frequently searching for funeral services tends to skew slightly older.
That makes sense.
Right. And this demographic often purchases PC laptops and simply uses the software that comes pre-installed.
Oh, they don't download Chrome.
Exactly. They don't go out of their way to download Google Chrome. They use Microsoft Edge, which has Bing hardwired as the default search engine.
Wow, that's such a simple but brilliant insight.
Because so many independent businesses completely neglect their Bing Places profile, taking 10 minutes to claim and correct your NAP data on Bing is an incredibly high-return, low-effort strategy.
And we can't ignore Apple Maps either. Let me guess, iOS integration and voice search.
Precisely that.
Huh?
With the absolute dominance of iPhones, when someone asks Siri for a nearby service, Siri bypasses Google and pulls data directly from Apple Maps.
So it's basically critical infrastructure now.
It is rapidly becoming critical infrastructure for local search visibility, yeah.
All right, so you've done the manual searches across Google, Bing, and Apple. You've checked the big UK directories like Yell and Facebook. Now you've found the surface level errors. This is where we bring in the heavy machinery, right? The citation audit tools.
Exactly. The sources recommend platforms like Bright Local, Moz Local, or Whitespark.
Because manual searching only goes so far.
Right. Manual searching is great for what you can see, but as we discussed, you cannot manually see what the data aggregators are holding in their internal databases.
The hidden stuff.
Yeah, professional software acts like an X-ray for your digital footprint. It queries the APIs of those aggregators and uncovers the deep infections in obscure niche directories you would never find on your own.
And I think the sources said some of these tools have free trials.
Yeah, platforms like Bright Local even offer a free initial scan, which gives you a terrifyingly accurate picture of how fractured your data really is.
There is one more place you have to check, though, and it's shockingly close to home. Your own website.
Oh, yes.
You have to check your footer, your contact page, and something called schema markup. Now, I've heard the term schema thrown around in SEO circles, but what actually is it?
Think of schema markup as a digital business card written in a language that only search engine bots can read. It is a piece of hidden code embedded in your website's architecture. Before Google's crawler ever reads the visible text on your homepage, it reads your schema to instantly understand your business name, address, phone number, and operating hours.
So if it's wrong in the code?
If the NFP data hard-coded in your schema doesn't perfectly match your Google business profile, you are broadcasting a massive conflict signal from your own domain.
That makes perfect sense. So you've done the audit, you've identified the bad data. The execution phase is just going down the list in priority order. Right?
That's it.
You fix your Google business profile first, then Bing, then Apple. Then you use one of those tools to submit your pristine master NAP to the massive aggregators like Infogroup and Newstar, and then you just wait.
Yes, patience is required.
Because the sources know that aggregators can take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to fully push that clean data out to the rest of the ecosystem.
It's not overnight, but let's say 2 months pass. The internet is finally singing your praises with perfect consistency. You are back in the local pack. The problem is the internet is chaotic and dynamic.
It never stays still.
No. So how do you prevent the citation drift from simply happening all over again?
You implement an ongoing maintenance schedule. You cannot treat this like a one-off project.
Absolutely not.
At an absolute minimum, you need to run this audit once a year. If you are a rapidly growing firm or you manage multiple branches, you really should be running a scan every quarter. And this is vital. If you ever physically move your office, change your phone number, or rebrand your trading name, you must trigger an audit immediately.
Yeah, you have to be proactive. There's also a very specific and highly frustrating trap in the UK that the research highlights, involving Yell.com.
Oh, this part of the guide blew my mind. Wait, let me set this up for the listener.
Go for it.
So, Yell.com is a major directory. Let's say my funeral home's actual trading address is right on the high street. But my registered legal address, the one on file with Company's House, is my accountant's office on the other side of town.
Pretty common setup.
Right. So I go on to Yell.com, I manually fix my listing to show the high street address, and I think I'm safe. But then Yell somehow overwrites it. How is that even allowed?
What's fascinating here is how automated systems sometimes try to be helpful but end up completely breaking your data.
Helpful, right?
Yell periodically refreshes its massive database by pulling authoritative legal information directly from Company's House.
Oh, no.
Yes. 6 months after you manually fix your address, Yell's API talks to Company's House, sees the accountant's address, assumes that you made a mistake on your profile, and silently overwrites your correct trading address with the legal one.
That is maddening.
It literally reinfects your NAP data without sending you a notification.
You fix the plumbing, and the system breaks it again. Which is exactly why the sources insist that UK firms must actively check their Yell listing at least twice a year just to reverse that automated override.
It's exhausting just thinking about managing all of this.
It is, but it proves why you can't be passive. To make this manageable, the IFM guide gives a straightforward checklist you can execute this week.
Let's hear it.
Number 1, sit down today and write out your master NAP. Commit to a format. Number 2, search your business on Google and Bing and log what you see. Number 3, claim those priority platforms, especially Bing and Apple Maps.
Essential.
Number 4, run a free scan on a tool like Bright Local. And number 5, set a calendar reminder right now for 6 months in the future to check it all again.
Very actionable.
Oh.
We also need to acknowledge, though, when it's time to put your hands up and call for professional backup.
Good point.
If you run a single branch and you find a couple of typos, you can absolutely fix that yourself on a Tuesday afternoon.
Right, no need to panic.
But if you have multiple branches and your free scan reveals dozens of conflicting errors, legacy phone numbers, and duplicate listings, all cross-contaminating each other.
Or if you've done the cleanup yourself, waited the full 12 weeks for the aggregators to update, and your ranking in the local pack still hasn't moved an inch.
Yeah, that is the exact moment you bring in a local SEO specialist. Sometimes the digital knot is just too tangled.
And honestly, your time as a funeral director serving families in your community is simply worth far more than the dozens of hours it would take to play digital whack-a-mole with data aggregators.
Absolutely.
So to summarize all of this, NAP consistency is not glamorous work.
No, it's really not.
It is essentially digital plumbing, but it is the utterly essential, non-negotiable foundation of local SEO. If you don't get your name, address, and phone number identical everywhere, any other marketing money you spend is just building a house on sand.
You're just wasting your budget.
Exactly. Google won't trust you, you will fall out of the local pack, and at 11 p.m. when a family desperately needs you, they will end up calling someone else.
And as we look toward the future, the stakes are only getting higher. We are rapidly entering the era of AI-driven search tools like Perplexity and seeing a massive expansion in the use of voice assistants like Siri and Alexa.
Oh, this is such a crucial point. The traditional screen where a user can, scroll and make a choice is slowly disappearing.
Exactly. When someone panics and asks Siri to call a local funeral director, Siri doesn't present them with a list of 10 websites to browse.
No, it just acts.
Siri pulls a single direct answer. And where do these AI models and voice assistants get their foundational truth? They don't guess. They rely entirely on the exact structured citations and the data aggregators we've been talking about today.
Wow. So I will leave you with this provocative thought to chew on as we wrap up. If an AI voice assistant is the entity actually making the call for a family in need, based purely on what the invisible data aggregators are whispering to it behind the scenes, are you absolutely certain it is your phone that's going to ring?
It is a question every local business owner needs to answer before their competitors do.
For sure. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take 10 minutes today, write down that master NAP record, and take control of your digital footprint. We'll catch you next time.